Let's kick things off here with the New York Giants and the Green Bay Packers. Right now, as we sit, 7.5 or 8 in favor of the Packers. This game happening overseas, so wake up early, West Coast yet again. We don't know if we're going to get Daniel Jones or not, but he was back out there practicing. If we don't, we're going to get Davis Webb for the New York Giants. And Adam, I don't know what we are looking at from a power rating standpoint with the Giants, whether it is a banged up Daniel Jones or a healthy Davis Webb, because the problem with the Giants has been the offensive line, and the thing that's kind of saved the Giants at times has been the mobility of Daniel Jones. And, you know, we know for sure with an ankle injury, he's going to be limited at best, if not have very limited mobility in general. So for me, it would still be a slight downgrade to Davis Webb for sure, but Daniel Jones without the mobility isn't really Daniel Jones either. So, you know, Green Bay, I think, is going to be a super, super incredibly popular teaser leg. I have them in several teasers this week, getting it under a field goal. I completely understand that. We're looking at a low total here of about 41.
Keep in mind something else that you just mentioned when it comes to the move from Daniel Jones to Davis Webb. That's a 1 to a 3. That's not a 1 to a 2, right? Tyrod Taylor is the 2 for the New York Giants, and he's in concussion protocol. So right now, you're looking at the Giants potentially going to a quarterback who they drafted years ago thinking he was the answer, cut, and then brought back in an emergency basis, essentially, to be in this position. So I understand why Green Bay's popular teaser leg, and I'm the first to tell you that this 3-1 record for the Giants is a lot more mirage than it is reality. Something still doesn't look right to Green Bay's offense for me. And I think you're looking at an evaluation in this game that's going to look remarkably similar to how you evaluated last week's game against New England, right? You were already working with a backup quarterback, but you were looking at a team that, despite the fact that it can't pass the ball, can run the ball with a little bit of effectiveness. Saquon Barkley obviously has been pretty good behind a bad offensive line up until this point. So I would evaluate the game in a very similar fashion than to how I did last week. And ultimately, for me, it's not a playing this game in London and introducing, that variable is enough for me to stay off it. But I understand why people like Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think too, Stephen, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, and if you haven't watched the video, it's right here on the channel. I think this is a fine survivor play as well. If you didn't already play the Packers, I would not have a problem with you if you wanted to play them this week either. This does look like a win. Regardless, I think the defense is good enough to keep the Giants from going crazy on the offensive side of the ball, and the offenses look just good enough to probably squeak out a win here. I don't think I could lay it, though. I don't think I could lay the full 8, and so that's why I looked at this from a teaser leg standpoint.
Yeah, I couldn't lay it either because I agree with Adam that there is a concern with Green Bay's rushing defense being bottom 5 in rush EPA and success rate against the run. And the Giants aren't consistent running the ball. They are 19th in success rate, but they are explosive because of Saquon, which has led to a top 10 rush EPA offense. But the Daniel Jones going out there and being compromised, his best weapon with no wide receiver core is his legs. We've seen that. And for this number to move back into teaser range with the optimism that Daniel Jones is going to play, this was out of teaser range when they didn't think he was going to play. Now we're back in that range where we can get it through the 7 and through the 3. And I jumped on that the minute I saw it because I don't care if Daniel Jones is playing. It's clear to me that he's not going to be his normal mobile self. And maybe they get Wan'Dale Robinson back this week, but he's a rookie. He's played like 2 snaps this year. So I thought it was really interesting last week that the market told us exactly what they think of the Giants when they had a home game against the Bears and it stuck on 2.5 all week. They could not get to a full field goal -110. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, I don't think we ever got to a -110. I think there were some threes, but they were juiced. But that told me a lot about what the market thinks of the New York Giants against one of, if not the worst teams in the NFL. So I think teaser looks really good here.
Yeah, I think my last thing I would say, and Adam, you kind of touched on, and both of you guys actually kind of touched on it. Listen, regardless of how you think the outcome of this game is going to go, Saquon Barkley, and unless there's some sort of injury situation is going to go on, he's going to have a massive role, be it, in my opinion, is probably might end up being the leading receiver for this team actually in this game, considering the wide receiver room right now for the Giants. I do eventually expect Tony and Robinson to kind of take the lead here, but I don't know if that happens this week. So, especially with them not being able to practice the last couple of weeks and all the stuff that's been going on from an injury
Tony
situation.
tried to
for them,
practice and then was downgraded.
Yeah.
Tony went from limited to DMP, so I don't think he's back.
So if you look here, we're talking Saquon receiving yards is sitting 24.5 right now at one of the books out there. I would be, I that's the bet for me in this game is Saquon catching a bunch of passes here. Adam, you watch obviously more Giants games than anybody else, and I know that they try not to use him a ton in the receiving game, but I just wonder if they're just going to be forced to in this one.
I think you're going to see them run the ball, very honestly. And I don't mind playing the over 24.5 yards because I think one good screenplay gets you to the bulk of that. And I think the Giants are going to have to do some of that to keep the pass rush off whoever the quarterback is. So I don't mind that play. I just ultimately think you're looking at the Giants probably having an average depth of target of about 5 yards this week.